There was a couple of different thoughts that was going through my head when I kind of got an idea to make this video. It kind of touches on, or it's a little bit of a continuation of the last video I made, of where our hypothetical guy gets rooked into the cult of AA and he can't get out of it. There's something that I've kind of encountered, like with people who tell you about, who will say something like, well, if AA was such a horrible, toxic place, why did you stay? Or when people will say something like, well, if you knew AA was phony, why'd you stick around? I mean, or whatever. I touched upon some of that with our hypothetical guy and in the last video, but there was a couple of different thoughts that occurred to me after the camera stopped rolling for that video that I didn't include, that I kind of wanted to touch on here. If I can tie them together cohesively in a way that people can understand it, great. But I have a tendency to meander when I get started and wander. One of the things that I noticed that AA probably capitalizes on and takes advantage of is, by the time you get to AA, whether it's through a treatment center or through the court orders or through or however you end up in the program itself. When I ended up in my first AA meeting, believe it or not, I had not experienced treatment centers or rehabs. That came later, after I'd been in the cult a while. Hadn't experienced DUI and court orders and drug courts, and the sheer unconstitutional way the drug court is conducted to this day irks me. I don't know if I should do further videos about that horrible program or not, but I saw in my local news channel that the drug court judge is retiring after so many years, and all these people were commenting about, oh, he saved so many lives, he's helped so many people. They don't know what a piece of shit bureaucrat that he really was, and how many people he put away for years and years upon end for nothing more than drug use. But anyway, about to start wandering there. But I was thinking about and touching upon what I talked about in the last video with our hypothetical guy. When I got to AA, me personally, to continue what I was saying in the last video, I had not felt any real acceptance in the world for a very long time. Everybody around me, including, with family or whatever, that it was all a constant, get your act together, straighten up, do this, do that, you're screwing everything up, you're throwing your life away, you're pissing everything away. I wasn't getting any normal conversations or interactions with any of them. Although, to be honest, I could do a whole entire dramatic movie about how insane the chemistry is between me and some of the family members I've had to cut out of my life altogether. Not cut out, but move away from. But with friends I had, I wasn't, there was certain friends I had that was kind of letting it be made known that I kind of wasn't welcome around them anymore, because I was kind of, falling apart and getting out of control with my boozing. My relationships at work was really quite strained. I mean, it's pretty much I don't know if anybody's ever gone through drinking on the job or not, but when I would wake up early in the morning and drink a bottle of vodka in order to function and get to work, I wasn't as severe when I got to AA as I would become later on. Like when I've talked about in other videos drinking a gallon of vodka a day, I wasn't doing that when I first got to AA. I would drink. Sometimes I would drink in the morning in order to go to work. Or if I wasn't drinking in the morning to go to work, I was coping with a hangover feeling throughout the day at work. There was also the worry, you got the eye drops in your car, you got, the mouthwash, the Listerine, the mints, heavy aftershave I'd put on, and there's this paranoia looming large in my mind all day long about, oh God, I hope they don't, get too close to me. They'll smell booze on me and I'll get fired, Luckily, where I was working when I first got exposed to AA, I was in a factory, and a lot of the work involved being around machinery, where I wasn't really like up close in close quarters with anybody. It was, if I was careful, I could avoid, supervisors and stuff like that. I didn't really have to get too close to coworkers. And then when I was on my breaks, I could go sit in my car, sneak me a little airplane bottle, something like that. But the point I'm making out of all of that is I was feeling very alienated from the world in general. I was feeling like, at times when I'd go home at night and everything was in turmoil and everything is in chaos and everybody was up my ass about everything, I would lock the door to my room and I'd think, I must be the only guy on earth that feels like this. You know, I would feel like I must be the only person in the entire universe that feels this miserable, this depressed, that ain't got no friends, that ain't got nobody he can talk to, that, you know, my life is coming apart at the seams, and there's nothing I can do about it, and there's nothing, it seems like no matter how hard I try, I keep fucking everything up, and I can't get it together. That was really the tapes that were playing in my mind when I finally got into the cult religion. Is there's nobody on earth that's kind of feeling this kind of isolation and alienation. It's true on a logical, rational sense. I should have known or should have understood, and I think on some level I did understand, that lots of people out there coping with addictive problems, some of them way worse than mine were when I got to AA. When I first got to AA, I still had a job. I still had, you know, certain elements of things together. I still hadn't been arrested for a DUI yet. That didn't happen until after 5 years in the program when it made my drinking worse. But there was a feeling of being totally alone in the entire scheme of everything. You know, there was nobody it felt like I could talk to on a one-on-one basis. There was nobody I felt like I could interact with. And now here I am, I'm in a room full of people that's all saying, you know, oh, you know, you think you drank really hard, but let me tell you something I did one time. Now, of course, later on, after being in the cult for a long time, I realized 90% of these people are making this shit up and lying. But there was a feeling of a kind of acceptance going on when I first got into the cult religion. For one thing, there's something AA capitalizes on, and you know, it seems harmless when you hear about it, but in truth, when you examine it, it's very dangerous. But I would hear people in the meeting say, where else can you go and talk about how you threw up in public and passed out in your own vomit, and you know, and have people understand it, and everybody would laugh, and everybody would do that, because there is a pressure in the real world to, I forgot who the philosopher was who said it, but you have to expound a tremendous amount of energy just to appear normal in the real world. You know, you don't go around usually in the real world admitting, you know, let me tell you about this stupid mistake I made today. Let me tell you about this thing that I did today that was really fucking dumb. You know, you just don't do those kind of things, and you certainly don't go around admitting that you're feeling a certain ways or stuff like that. You kind of have, I guess the term is a game face. You have a game poker face that you, I'm saying you, I mean me, that you present to the world at large. And AA was the first place in a long time where I kind of felt this camaraderie of, oh, okay, here I can cut loose. Here I can admit that I haven't got it together. Here I can admit I'm all screwed up. Here I can do that, and I'm not rejected for that. That was a very powerful thing to feel after feeling alienated for such a long time when I got, you know, to the cult religion. It was easy at first to say, well, finally I found a group of people who can understand what the hell I'm talking about when I say I haven't got it together. It almost made me think, I don't know if anybody remembers the old sitcom, the Golden Girls, but there was a scene one time where Rue McClanahan, or whatever, I don't know how to say her last name, but she was talking to an older guy, and she said, I have a confession to make. She said, I'm not perfect. that was kind of the feeling when I got to the cult religion. I got a confession to make. I'm not perfect. I'm all fucked up. And it seemed like everybody accepted that. It seemed like everybody understood that. And another thing that I would hear all the time, which I never thought to examine this, but until much later, but they would say, normal people don't do this, normal people don't do that, normal people don't do this, normal people don't do that, only alcoholics do this, only alcoholics do that. Go into the regular world and try to talk about a blackout or driving drunk or anything, and they'll look at you like you're crazy. Here, we understand you, we're your people, And that was kind of a thing that I would think about to myself. Well, yeah, I do get drunk and black out. I do these stupid things. I have driven drunk when I knew I shouldn't. But underneath the surface of all of that, when they say, normal people this, normal people that, when it came to something like driving while intoxicated, for example, there was a bar that was located not too far from where I lived at the time. It was like I lived near a main highway. There was a bar right there on the corner of the main highway, but the suburb neighborhood was right behind it. So you weren't going to get on any main roads when you'd go there. You weren't going to have to do any major driving on the freeway or something. I'd go there. A lot of the times I'd get plastered and I'd get in the car and I would drive home. I'm not proud of that. I don't believe anybody should ever get behind the wheel drunk. But there's a feeling in the back of your mind when you get a little bit of a buzz or at least I used to get one, in the bar, where I would say to myself, well, I only live like 2 blocks away. Yeah, something terrible could happen. Yeah, there could be a wreck. Yeah, something like that could go wrong. But, I've driven these 2 blocks back to my house a number of times, and nothing's ever happened. It's not probably a smart decision for me to make to do this, but, it's right there. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could safely navigate these 2 blocks. Now, there's that one night when you're kind of coming home and all of a sudden out of the corner of your eye, you see some kid on a bicycle and you say to yourself, holy shit, I didn't even see him. I wouldn't have seen him if I wasn't plastered right now. But, there's that close call feeling that terrified me, okay? I go back to the bar a couple of weeks later, I'm sitting there drinking and I'm thinking, well, that was one incident. There's been a million times that didn't happen, and if I'm reasonably cautious, it probably won't happen again. Now, AA people would call that totally insane. Totally, that's an alcoholic right there. It's totally insane. No regard for logic. Is it really insane, or is it just the fact that when you've had a few drinks, you're not really thinking in your right mind a lot? Have a few beers and the world looks a lot better. Have a few shots of liquor and the world looks a lot different. You might say to yourself, you might do things that you wouldn't normally be inclined to do. The idea of driving drunk to me now is terrifying. But when you got a buzz going on and your house is 2 blocks away and you know that you've done it a million times, it doesn't really seem that crazy. It seems like, hey, it's right there. I could do this. The idea that there are these normal people out here that don't make reckless decisions, that don't do stupid things, that don't ever, drink a little too much and wake up the following day, all that kind of stuff, it kind of created this wedge between me and the world that it was already existent to begin with. Because when I got to AA, I was already feeling like I was the only guy on earth that made dumb decisions when I was drinking. I felt like I was the only guy on earth that was doing the things I was doing. I felt like I was the only guy on earth with the problems I had. And here you are in AA with all these like-minded individuals, so-called like-minded individuals. You find out later on the surface it's anything but this, but they're telling you, it's okay. We've done the same things. We made those same stupid mistakes. Our lives are great now. We don't drink anymore. And, we understand you. We totally get where you're coming from. You can say whatever you like here and, and it seems like it's too good to be true. It's too good to be true because it is too good to be true. You see, somewhere along the way, when you come into AA and you're sharing your little funny tale or you're admitting that you're not perfect one day or you're talking about some stupid shit that happened at work and you're saying, let me tell you what I did today. I know I feel like a moron for saying this, but this is what I did today. But, I am an alcoholic. Somewhere, sooner or later, somebody is going to say to you, this isn't a place for people to cut up and just talk and be funny and relax. This is life or death. This is death. If you're just coming here to make friends and kind of blow off steam and be relaxed, then you're not even supposed to be here. You should be out there getting drunk, and you should be out there really trying to get drunk because you haven't had enough to drink and all of that. And then there's this little voice inside of you when you hear something like that, and it says to you, holy fucking shit, I kind of thought this was just a place for people who were trying to quit drinking to kind of connect with one another and kind of be social and, to have a few unifying factors. I didn't realize that there's a prerequisite for being accepted into this exclusive club of people who understand who I am. There's a bunch of prerequisites and conditions for being accepted unconditionally by this society, the only society in the entire world and in the entire universe that'll ever accept me for who I truly am, has requirements and rules. And is it really so much to, really follow some of these rules if that's the price of admission, to have friends, to have a place to go, to be accepted, to overcome my drinking problem? At first it seems okay, it's like, okay, I'll read this book, I'll get these sponsors, I'll do this thing. But then you begin to notice things. You begin to notice a lot of funny things, like there are certain things in that book that just doesn't seem to gel and add up. There's the one funny thing that AA has that and all religious cults have this. I could make another video about that, and I may do so. But every religious cult has this same thing. They say something that sounds almost true. But if you examine it really closely, it falls apart. Like if they said your troubles are all of your own making. Sounds really good at first. It's got a feel-good sound to it. Yeah. All my problems are my fault. Hey, I just got to man up and take care of them. That's all right. Yeah, of course. But when you kind of get to looking at it in depth as to what the literature is saying and what these people are sharing in these meetings, you're thinking, wait a minute now. everything in life is not my fucking fault. Everything in life is not something caused by me taking a drink. Then you start hearing all these weird definitions about what the disease really is. When I got to Quackaholics Anonymous, I thought to myself, well, I'm a guy that can't control his liquor and needs to stop drinking, needs to stop drinking and staying drunk all the time. Which, by the way, I was right. That's all it was. I was drinking too much. I needed to get control of it, or I needed to stop. That's all it really boiled down to. But now you're hearing all these weird definitions of what's really wrong with you. You're selfish, you're self-centered, you're filled with resentment, you're full of fear, you're full of this, you're full of that. But there again, they have some element that's got this small, truth-sounding tone to it that kind of draws you in. Well, yeah, if I'm angry, I'm miserable. If I've got a lot of anger towards people, I am very miserable. And yeah, sometimes I am pissed off because things aren't going the way I want it to go like. Never occurring to me that everybody in the freaking world, normal or not normal, that word they use, probably feels like that from time to time, or feels like, I'm pretty sure 99% of the world's population wakes up at some point and thinks if everybody just fucking do the way I need them to do, everything would be great. It's not alcoholic to do that. It's not in full flight from reality. It's not even being alcoholic to feel afraid or fearful or resentful when shit doesn't go the way you'd like it to go. They've taken basic human feelings that everybody feels from time to time. They capitalize on those basic human feelings and tell you these things are exclusive to you and you alone because you're an alcoholic. So, only you and people like us who understand you feel this kind of way. And by the way, if you can't handle it in here, if you can't hack it, the outside world is not going to ever understand you. The outside world is never going to accept you. And you're probably going to drink yourself to death and die within a short period of time if you leave us. It's really weird how it subtly kind of gradually creeps in until it takes you over completely, to the point that by the time you're kind of aware of what you've gotten yourself into, it's much too late. And even after I realized that AA was nothing but bullshit, there was a part of me that still thought to myself, yeah, but there's nobody else in the world that's going to accept what I am and what I do and all this other shit. It never occurred to me until much later on, I don't need other people to accept me. I don't need other people to give me a stamp and a seal of approval and give me the blessing and the anointment of the group of saying, you belong, you are one of us, you're in the secret society, whatever the fuck it is. I'm an individual person that drank a little too much and just needed to stop doing that. That's really all it is. But that's kind of one of the ways the AA religious cult grabs you and holds you and rooks you into it. Believe it or not, getting court-ordered in AA was one of the things that actually opened my eyes to what it was really all about, because it's a whole lot different viewpoint when you're sitting there needing your sheet signed or go to jail for a week and you got all these assholes treating you like you're less than human because of it. Relapsing, too, was another way to find out what the society of acceptance and brotherhood of man and love and all of that shit was really all about. You drink one time, or you admit to drinking one time, and you find out these people aren't so accepting after all, are they? And anyway, I think those are a couple of psychological tricks that I've noticed AA employs. Now, I don't think most of these predatory old-timer assholes are aware of that's how it works. I think they're just... The predatory old-timer assholes are just people that sit in there and can't wait for fresh victims to come in that they can harvest, because they know that 90% of the people who come into the rooms are going to be gone in a couple of months anyway, and they can start the whole fucking game up all over again. Although why they want to sit there for decades playing this same rotten, disgusting game is beyond me. But I'm glad it's beyond me. Otherwise, I might understand what they're really like. Anyway, I hope I covered enough in this, and until next time,